Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles, and this is our last series check-in of 2024. So I wouldn't say that I haven't made progress, just that I've started a lot of things for various reasons, but it's kind of all over the place. So we are going to start with series that I have started and need to catch up on. The first one being Spice Isle Bakery. I read this for Black Queen. It is the only cozy mystery that I actually liked. In this, we're following Lindsay, who just opened her Caribbean cafe and bakery. Another bakery owner is really upset about it, makes a huge scene on her opening day, and then he ends up dead the following day. Obviously, she gets accused of murder, and we follow her story from there. I think that the difference between this one and a lot of other cozies is that I actually like the main character, which is usually the issue, so hopefully that continues. I don't know how far in the series I'll get, but we'll see. Next is the Lost and Found series by Natasha Bishop. I read Where We Found Our Home. In this one, we're following Sierra, who's on the run. She settles down in Austin, Texas, where she meets Lincoln, who is a local firefighter. This one feels very romantic suspensey, and I like that. I actually haven't read much romantic suspense, so that might be something that I need to try more of. From my understanding, there are supposed to be, I want to say 5 books, and currently there are 3, so I definitely want to catch up on this series at some point. Next is series that I have caught up on, starting with Supernatural Investigations. Amari and the Despicable Wonders came out this year, and I read it the month that it was released. Really enjoyed it. If you're unfamiliar with the series, in the first book, we're following Amari as she is looking for her older brother who has gone missing. Everyone assumes maybe he's dead, maybe he ran away, and she's like, no, there's more to this story, and so I need to figure it out. Turns out that she and her brother have magical powers, and so we follow her as she goes to sort of a magical summer camp and learns more about the magical world. The next 2 are series that I have both started and caught up on because there's only 1 book so far, so that was pretty easy. First is The Heights Chronicles. The first book was Private Agenda. I was a part of the cover reveal and art team for CCJ, and I really enjoyed this one. If you know anything about the CCJ universe, then you're familiar with The Heights, and in this one we're watching the Heights separate from Blackwood to become its own city. So while I did enjoy it, well, for the most part, I didn't like the main character, but that's neither here nor there. If you're going to get into CCJ, if you're still new, you need to read other books that take place in the Heights before reading this one, but I'm really excited for the rest of this series because I think it's going to be really good. The other one was the first book in the Barlow Mafia series by Asia Monique, which is Wyatt. This is a spin-off of the Mafia Misfit series, which I love. I do have a series review of the first half of it because only 6 books are out so far. And I will say that you do definitely need to read that 6th book before you read this one because that's our introduction to these characters. But if you are a fan of Mafia romances, then I would definitely recommend the series. Next are series that I'm still working my way through, starting with Iron Widow. So I reread Iron Widow this month. I have an arc of Heavenly Tyrant, so I'm currently listening to that right now. And by the time this video goes up, the actual book will not have released yet. I was able to get an arc of it from Libra FM. It was one of the ALCs for this month. If you're unfamiliar, Iron Widow is a young adult sci-fi that is a reimagining of the only female empress in China. And in this world, there's a military system where there are concubine pilots who essentially die every time they go into battle. And so our main character's older sister had enlisted as a concubine pilot, and the pilot murdered her, and she decides that she's going to enlist for that same pilot so that she can avenge her sister. She does manage to do that, and it causes a whole lot of turmoil, but it's really good. It's very much fuck the patriarchy, unhinged main character, and I love that. So I'm excited that this book finally came out because we have literally been waiting for years. The other series is Burning Kingdoms by Tasha Suri. The Lotus Empire came out this year. I haven't started it yet, but I need to get through a couple of audiobooks before I start that one. I will definitely have that read before the end of the month though, because it was one of my most anticipated releases, and I'm really excited to see how the series ends. In the first book, we are following a few characters who are in different positions within the society. One of them is a princess, but she's been exiled by her older brother. One of them is a maidservant, and she is connected to this very ancient magic that is sort of returning to the land. And so we're following their story from there, and it's very interesting. On to series that I have completed, starting with Cartel Elements. The first book came out last year, and then the last 2 books and a novella came out this year. I read them all, loved it. If you are a fan of cartel mafia romances, again, I would recommend. In this series, each book is following one of the Ruiz siblings. Their family owns a very prominent pharmaceutical company, which is sort of the front for all of their other dealings, but it's a fun time. I really enjoyed it. Next is Raya Revelations by Michael J. Sullivan. Robin and I started the series at the beginning of the year and we finally finished it. The ending was very satisfying. I'm very glad that I read this series, and the best way for me to describe it to people is pretty much just following Royce and Hadrian on random shenanigans, which doesn't say much, but it's a fun time. Like, they get hired to steal things. At the end of the day, they are thieves, but something always goes wrong and then it ends up as a crazy adventure, and it's a fun time. Then we have Beasts of Prey by Ayanna Gray. I finally read Beasts of War and I enjoyed it. It was a good time. All 3 books in the series were really good. If you're unfamiliar with that first book, we're following 2 main characters, Kofi and Ekon, as they're both deciding to travel into the jungle to find a creature that has been murdering civilians for years. For different reasons, both of them want to capture this creature. Kofi because she works in the night zoo and is hoping to help pay off her parents' debt since they work there as indentured servants, and Ekon because he's trying to prove himself to essentially the military, but also because this creature murdered his father. And so they decide to team up and go after it together, and we follow their story from there. I would definitely recommend the series. It's really good. There's a lot of different types of magic that come into play, and it was really interesting seeing them all unfold. And lastly is Between Earth and Sky by Rebecca Roanhorse. I finally read Mirrored Heavens after months, but it was good. The ending to me was very unexpected because the series is so brutal and it kind of ends in a way that I just was not expecting. Not in a bad way, I was just very surprised by it, but it was still a good time. Even after all this time, I still really don't know how to explain Black Sun. I don't know how to explain it, but I promise it is worth the read. And lastly are the series that I DNF'd. Many of them are series that I read during Black Halloween. I'm not going to talk about them in detail, so if you want my thoughts, you can watch my Black Halloween vlog. First, there was the Enchanted Bay Mystery, which was a spell for trouble. It was okay, I just don't care enough to keep going. Ice Cream Parlor Mystery, A Deadly Inside Scoop, I did not like the plot, did not like the characters, would not recommend. Baker Street was 2 part sugar, 1 part murder. I didn't hate it, but I did hate the main character, and that made it really difficult for me to keep going. Odessa Jones, A Glimmer of Death, hated. Worst one that I read all month, would not recommend. And then Peach Coast Library Mystery, that one was Murder by Page 1, that was the group read, and I DNF'd that first book. So yeah, and then the last series that I decided to DNF was African Immortals by Tananarive Due. Not at all because it's not good. It is a very good series. However, we are at a part in the series where it's starting to shift and focus on the next generation. And I liked where we were, so I don't want to read about these younger characters. I don't care as much, so I let that one go. But those are all the series that I have somewhat made progress on or given up on in the last part of the year. I will continue to do my series check-ins in 2025. So let me know how you're doing on your series. Are you tracking them? What are your numbers looking like? Are they bad? I don't think mine are bad. It's just there's just so many of them, but I feel like that's always the case, and that's why we're checking in to see if we're making progress. But that is all I have for you today. I will see you in the next video.